The latest revelations about the scope of government surveillance have even long-term congressional supporters calling for a full review of policy programs. Those revelations are all coming from one source, Edward Snowden. The former government contractor has been living in Moscow since the summer. One of the few Americans to meet with him there is Jesselyn Radack. She is a former Justice Department litigator and advisor turned whistleblower. She now works for the Government Accountability Project, and I'm pleased to have her here this Friday evening. Welcome.
Thank you.
Why did you go to see Edward Snowden?
I went to see Edward Snowden along with other whistleblowers and the founder to present him with the Sam Adams Award for Integrity in Intelligence so that he would know he has support from other people in the national security and intelligence community who believe he did the right thing. You
released a statement from him which said, it's about power, control, and trust in government. This is about the unconstitutional, unethical, and immoral actions of the modern-day surveillance state and how we all must work together to remind government to stop them. It's about our right to know, our right to associate freely, and to live in a free and open democratic society. At the same time, members of this government say that he has endangered national security because people who wish us harm have had to change their systems. And secondly, there's information there that he has released that damages the national security in other ways.
Well, they've said that about every single whistleblower, including, for example, Bradley Manning. And then when it was time for trial, they were never able to come up with a damage assessment. And I've never heard anything.
Although Manning was convicted.
Yes, and I've never heard anything concrete, though, from the government about any actual damage caused. And moreover, I would argue that the damage to national security, I mean, what's hurting us with terrorism is what NSA is doing by spying on our allies. We have trust agreements and partnerships with our allies that we rely on in fighting the war on terrorism. And by spying on presidents, prime ministers, and chancellors of other countries, it's eroding that trust that we need.
You know him well. Has he given any information either to China or to Russia that was in his possession?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Shared nothing with them?
Nothing.
When you look at where he is now in Russia, unable to travel, some say that the better route would have been to come to the United States and say, yes, I did it. I did it for these reasons, these honorable reasons in my judgment. You know, and I'm prepared, as most people engaged in civil disobedience do, to stand trial and make my case.
Edward Snowden had studied very carefully the cases of other NSA whistleblower clients of mine, like that of Thomas Drake, who went through every conceivable proper internal channel to his boss, to the NSA General Counsel, the Department of Defense Inspector General, and both intel committees in Congress. And instead of getting any kind of redress, they turned around and prosecuted him under the Espionage Act and threatened that he would spend the rest of his life in jail. So Ed studied his case and Manning's case, which involved torture, and made a reasonable decision that these channels don't work.
Say, therefore, under what guarantees given, say, by the Attorney General, would he come back?
They would have to drop the charges and not pursue him criminally, have an ironclad agreement not to go after him criminally.
Do you know that he has other information that's more damaging than what we have heard so far?
There is other information. It's not in his possession. He hasn't had possession of any of the actual information since Hong Kong. So when he went to Russia, he didn't have any of that. It's in the hands of other journalists, but he has no control over what stories come out or when they come out or who puts them out.
Can you characterize what the other information is?
I don't know. I don't know for sure. I think there's probably going to be more about spying on other world leaders. And then, I mean, it seems to spy phases. And right now there seems to be a phase of NSA spying on corporations and major flagship companies in the U.S. That have actually cooperated with the NSA.